So this is the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and it's been on the market for about 2 years. And in relation to the upcoming Glow Time event, are we going to be keeping this iPhone 14 Pro Max, considering purchasing it after the fact? Is this going to come down even further in price? Or just keeping it all together and skipping out on the 16 Pro Max? That is the aim of today's video. Let's dive in. All right, so let's first begin by talking about the body in the build. Now, this build was incredibly nice. It came from the 13 Pro Max. This is the space black color option, as you can see right here. Very black on the edges, a little bit more gray on the back. However, with the stainless steel structure, the back overall feeling like glass is a really nice glass. It is glass, but like glass material with this matte texture. Didn't really pick up too much fingerprints. And also, you did get some smudges in here, but overall, the phone just felt excellent. It feels like a really solid structure. So in terms of upgrading it or keeping it here, it really comes down to one element. Do you want a lighter phone? Do you want a lighter, sleeker device? You'll probably like one of the newer ones that are coming. They're going to be going towards a more thin, lighter kind of feel than the 14 Pro Max. But if you like that heft, you like that build that just feels durable, I still think this is definitely a keep for quite some time, because they might not go back to these thicker, heavier stainless steel style phones for quite some time. I don't even know if they will go back to that, because they're pushing towards an iPhone 17 Air, which is a thinness factor, and they're trying to get these bigger phones lighter and more manageable. So I don't see them going back there. So if you really like that, that's going to be good. This is also an IP68 dust and water resistant smartphone, so upgrading it here it's not going to be, they're probably not going any other thing other than that. So it's going to be pretty similar in that respect. Also, the 14 Pro Max was so durable. In fact, you could actually drop this without a case, and you could probably survive that drop pretty decent. I still wouldn't recommend it, but you can, more so than, say, like one of the 15 Pro models. So pretty durable overall. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the display here. We're talking about a 6.7 inch. Now, they're going to 6.9 on the Pro Max. It's coming, so that's going to be a pretty big upgrade. If you want a larger phone panel size, I definitely would upgrade it. But if you're okay with 6.7, it's still a pretty large display. We're looking at XDR OLED on board here, so this is definitely very contrasty. Also, the 19:9 aspect ratio makes this nice and wide for texting and seeing a lot of content on display. You can see right here, if we pinch in, this was the iPhone that brought the dynamic island, this in the 14 Pro. And you'll see just a nice canvas for watching video on here. If you're watching videos from the channel, it's pretty good. Also, right here, you can see, usually you'll see these bars on the side, but you can pinch in to get a little bit more content. Sometimes it's going to cut things off in many, many videos, so do keep that in mind. But plenty sharp and plenty nice display here. Also, 120 Hertz was introduced for the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and it carried over here. So a super buttery smooth display, smoother than most of the all the Plus models that came out. The 14 Plus, the 15 Plus, the base 15, the 14. So this phone is a definite keep for, I would say, the display quality. It's still a really good one. But if you do just want larger, it just feels like we're going for just a little bit more here, a little bit more there. I know we're going to see thinner bezels, larger display, but I don't think that's going to make this phone like a bad phone or anything. It's still plenty tech sharp. Is 460 pixels per inch. This is a ceramic shield glass. And also, this was the iPhone that introduced always on display. So you can go over here, go down to display. Let's go to display here. And you'll see right here, always on display. This was a nice new feature for the iPhone 14 Pro Max series. So honestly, it's just if you want that extra jump in size, if you want that little bit of a jump in size, you maybe want thinner bezels, and you want it on a lighter body. That's going to be the deciding factor for display, I would say, whether you should upgrade or keep it. All right, so let's talk about the battery health and talk about the battery life for this phone. Now, this phone was one of the better ones in the iPhone 14 line, but the 14 line in general wasn't my favorite overall battery experience. It was just not as good as what we see on the 13 Pro Max or even the 15 Pro Max. There's a 4323 in here. It's still an all-day phone, don't get me wrong. It just never was like that phone that was going 2 days like some of the other iPhones out there. Definitely Definitely not my favorite, but again, I do think if you're looking for a massive increase in battery, this is probably where this next 6.9-inch Max is going to be worth the upgrade because, usually when they go to a bigger screen size, we're getting a bigger battery. So I'm hoping and I'm thinking we're going to be seeing that here just next week. So if you're looking for longer battery, I probably would upgrade it. I wouldn't keep it here. I don't think this is the best battery. Also, people did complain that the 14 Pro series lost battery life in terms of like longevity of the health going down a little bit faster than usual. All right, so let's talk about the software. Now, I do have the latest iOS 18 beta on here. So I've definitely been running iOS 18. Brings the new darker mode icons here. So if we go to dark mode, they'll switch over into the dark mode. You also do have the ability to put apps wherever you would like on screen, so they don't got to be flying up to the corners. You could put them anywhere you would like. In addition to that, we do have the new Siri. I didn't get it on this phone yet, but we will have the new Siri on the 15 Pro and higher because you can get the Apple Intelligence version, so you're not going to see the ring effect, the glow effect as they're advertising on this phone. So you're going to have to go to a 16 model or a 15 model if you want all the new Apple Intelligence features on here. In addition to that, over here on the iOS 18, there's going to be a lot of new features in the way of privacy as well, so that's pretty good. In addition to that, the performance should remain pretty solid even though you're not getting all the Apple Intelligence features. On the whole, I do like what iOS 18 brings. I think it's a fresh new look. And while it didn't bring a whole new look, I like the new control center. I like the new calculator features that comes to all the iOS 18 versions, where you have the scientific, you have the history finally, and math notes as well. So I'm loving the calculator enhancements. I'm loving the overall software look and feel. I just wish this thing had Apple Intelligence. It's not that old. So if you're looking for that AI stuff, this is definitely an upgrade and not a keep. But if you don't care, this is definitely a keep for at least another year. Maybe look forward to the iPhone 17 or to the 18 with this one. Upgrade wise though, they should still be getting the base software for at least a couple more years, maybe 3 more years on the iPhone 14 Pro Max here. All right, so when it comes to the camera, is this an upgrade or a keep? And honestly, to me, this is an upgrade. Here's why. While we do have a great cinematic mode, really good RAW modes, we also do have a nice zoom up to 15 times. This phone doesn't have the longer 5x optical. So I'm saying if you really care about the camera, like you're really in the pro photography, videography, this is an upgrade because you're going to 5 times zoom on the 16. You're also getting a 48 megapixel ultra wide camera. So the ultra wide shots are going to be not only sharper, but even better on the macro mode. In addition to that, of course, they're always going to improve the video and bring some new camera enhancements. The AI processing should be a little bit better as well. In general, while this camera is still freaking phenomenal, this is a raw beast right here. It can do great raw photos, great for post-processing. In addition to that, you have really decent zoom on here. You don't have really far reach, which is where the iPhone 16 Pro Max is going to shine even more over this one. On the front-facing camera, you still have that same camera you see on most of the other iPhones in the lineup. And while it's not bad, it's actually pretty great over here. I also think they're going to improve this on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So amazing cameras. It's not a must upgrade if you're not a massive, photographer or videographer. But if you take this area of your phone super seriously, this is how you make your money. The cameras, the front and the back. This is not going to be a problem here on the 14 Pro Max. But if you want the best of the best, 16 Pro Max is a solid upgrade coming for this area of the phone for sure. The 15 Pro Max wasn't huge. The zoom was big, but other than that, it wasn't too much different. But with having all the lenses going 48 megapixel now, in addition to that, you're going to have a better front-facing camera. Likely, this is probably the year to do the upgrade if you care a lot about camera. Again, every year is going to get better. But this is not a must. It's just definitely, I would upgrade it if this is your primary point. So I'm talking about the audio. A little bit larger and definitely maybe slightly bigger cameras. We'll have to see about that. But 6.9 inches. This is 6 points. You could see, not an issue. Super loud on here. Definitely pretty good audio performance from this space black iPhone 14 Pro Max. No major issues on that front. So I wouldn't even think twice about audio stuff. That's probably not the area of upgrading. Of course, we might have a little bit faster Bluetooth as usual, but the actual sound that comes out of this iPhone is amazing for the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So there's no real issue there. Now, one area there is a little bit of a concern for me is Lightning. The connectivity, I don't like Lightning. Everybody has USB-C based products. Apple's going for the entire lineup to go to USB-C. You can see the AirPods I have over here have USB-C. My headphones have USB-C. My MacBook has USB-C. So Lightning, getting rid of this was the best thing Apple did in the past few years, in my opinion. This phone also doesn't have eSIM. So if you have a 13 Pro Max, anything past that is going to have no SIM card tray, at least in the USA. So definitely don't like that about this phone either. All right, so what about the area performance? This is actually not an issue whatsoever for this phone. It is 6 gigs of RAM, so it's a lot like the iPhone 15 models, 15 Plus. A16 Bionic, also like the 15 models. So definitely really good here. Clocked pretty high, 3.46 gigahertz. It still out benchmarks many new Android phones that come out today. So it's still definitely playing really well in the performance area. This is not an area I would say go for the upgrade. It's probably going to be more the battery, the lightness of the phone, and the camera. Also the Apple Intelligence. Those are the features to look out for the upgrade on here. Dynamic Island was introduced here, and it's a pretty cool feature for, getting orders and seeing your Lyft rides coming, seeing a stopwatch or something up there, getting a phone call, a message, a notification. It's a little fun to use, don't get me wrong. I think it's Apple's way of keeping you entertained while they figure out how to get this all screen on the phone, but it's still definitely a nice feature that was introduced here with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. In addition, this did also have emergency SOS via satellite. So this is definitely one of those phones you'll feel pretty safe using should you ever, unfortunately, get into any issues and concerns where you would need those services. Hopefully not. I'm praying that you never do. But if you do, this is one of those phones you want with you. Could potentially be life-saving for any of these emergency SOS-based smartphones. So pretty nice right there. On that respect, performance is just great though. This phone was really super fast and never really slowed down. And still, even to this day with the iOS 18, the betas are starting to get more polished now. It runs fantastic. It really runs like a brand new smartphone. Who makes a call? Do you make calls these days? I don't know how many people do. I don't see many people talking. I see a lot of people texting, using the internet on their phone. But if you're making calls, this one was solid, especially in urban areas. Not great, though, in garages and in like basements and stuff and lower, the areas where you're kind of blocked off with the signal. This wasn't my favorite, but this still has Qualcomm modems, so it's pretty good for the most part in most scenarios, and it was never really a massive issue. So I don't think this is an area where I would say, oh, you have to upgrade. Definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely it's a keep. So let me wrap it up here. I'm done with everything I have to say about this phone for this video. I really, really liked this phone when it came out for the color, the space black. They even have MacBooks this color now. Silent switch, no action button. You're going to get that and a capture button on the new 16s. You're not getting the stainless steel edges though, and this durable, hefty feel. So this is something you might want to consider keeping if you enjoy that a lot. Also, if you found yourself with the 14 Pro Max not really using the cameras to their pro potential, I don't think that's an upgrade needed either. Also, if you want a larger display, that might be a consideration. But generally speaking, I think people who had bought a 14 Pro Max will be fine. It's just that Apple Intelligence not coming to this phone is going to be the deciding factor. That's why they're calling the event Glow Time. It's time to get a phone that glows, right? Personally, this is a keep for those of you who don't care about having the next latest and greatest tech specs, because it's still, for the most part, I would say like 90% of this phone still feels very modern. It still feels like very current. It's just a couple of little things. So if you're that type of person who needs that couple little extras, that's probably going to be an upgrade. Other than that, I'd say keep it, deal with the lack of Apple Intelligence for a while. Use some ChatGPT, use some other AI-based services that are just application-based, cloud-based. You don't really have to go get this just for the AI. As Apple still develops it, it's going to take a little while for it to get better anyway. But I think it might be something you might want to consider when the 17 Airs come out. That might be changing the topic here. But overall, it's been an excellent phone. It's actually the best, I think, in the 14 Pro. The 14 entire lineup, this is the best one anyway. So thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know your thoughts if you have an iPhone 14 Pro Max. Are you planning on keeping it, selling it, or trading it in? I'll catch you all in the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.